Imagine this. You're sitting at a family dinner table, everyone laughing and having a great time. But suddenly, your stepdaughter turns to you and says, "Go find another table. You're not family." My heart shattered, my dear friend. That's exactly what happened to me, Elena. Hi, I'm Eve. And today, I want to tell you this crazy story from my life. Like we're sitting face to face with a hot cup of tea. Are you ready? Let's start from the beginning, but with all the emotional details and dialogues that still ring in my ears. I'm Elena, 58 years old, with gray hair that I always try to keep neat. 20 years ago, I married Richard. Back then, Richard was a successful manager at a construction company, and he had a teenage daughter named Sophia from his previous marriage. Sophia was 15, full of anger from her parents' divorce. I came into their lives thinking I could fix everything. You know how people think love solves all problems? Well, I was like that. I told Sophia, "Sweetie, I'm her. I'm here to help. Whenever you want to talk, I'm ready." I spent years on it, helping with homework, driving her to dance classes, even paying for her college when Richard was in financial trouble. I quit my job to be a full-time mom. Richard always said, "Elena, you're an angel." But now I realize how empty those words were. 20 years passed, and the family grew. Sophia married Mark. They have 2 adorable kids, my grandkids. I was still the center of the family, cooking, babysitting, planning vacations. But something changed. Sophia started acting strange. At parties, she'd ignore me, or say sarcastically, "You're not the real mom. Why do you interfere so much?" I'd tell myself, "She's probably stressed. Elena, be patient." But my friend, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Now, let's get to that nightmare night. It was the anniversary dinner for me and Richard at a fancy restaurant. I was excited, wearing a new dress that Sophia had picked out for me before. When we arrived, Sophia said with a cold smile, "Mom, sorry, but our table is full. You go sit at that other table. You're not real family anyway." Everyone laughed, like it was a joke. Richard shrugged and said, "Honey, don't be sensitive. Come sit." But I felt the world spinning. I sat at a table alone, swallowed my tears, and went home. That night, I told myself, "Elena, this can't be random. You have to figure out what's going on." The next day, I started searching. I went to Sophia's old room in our house. In the drawers, I found letters from Richard to Sophia. I read them and was shocked. Richard had written, "My darling, I can't be without you. Elena doesn't suspect anything." Betrayal. My husband with my stepdaughter. I sat on the floor and cried. But then I thought, no, Elena, now's the time to fight. I checked Richard's emails. I knew his password. There I saw their affair had been going on for years, since Sophia turned 18. Even dialogues like this. Sophia wrote, "Dad, when do we get rid of Elena?" Richard replied, "Be patient, sweetie. I'll change the will so the house goes to you." My friend, it felt like a double betrayal, emotional and financial. They were planning to cut me out of the inheritance. I called a lawyer and said, "Help me, my husband and stepdaughter." The lawyer said, "You have a lot of rights. Gather evidence." I started collecting photos, messages, even recorded phone conversations. One time, I secretly heard Richard say to Sophia, "Elena comes home late tonight. Come over." My heart broke, but I decided to wait for the final blow. A few weeks later, it was Richard's birthday. I invited everyone to our house. I served dinner. Everyone was happy. Sophia said, "Wow, the food is great. At least you're good at that." I smiled and said, "Before the cake, I have a surprise." I turned on the projector and the slides started. All the messages and photos. The room went silent. Sophia screamed, "This is a lie. Elena, you're crazy." Richard's face went pale, and he said, "Honey, I can explain. It's a mistake." I calmly said, "No explanation needed. I know everything. Now, it's over. I'm divorcing you and taking half of everything." In the days that followed, the divorce proceeded. The court was in my favor. Half the assets, the house, retirement funds. When Mark found out, he said to Sophia, "I can't live with this," and took the kids. Sophia begged, "Elena, forgive me. We made a mistake." But I said, "You never saw me as family. Now go." Richard was left alone, with regret. But me, my friend, I was free. With the divorce money, I opened a little cafe. Now, every day I talk with friends, sharing our stories. I even met a kind man who says, "You're the strongest woman I've seen." The lesson from this story? Family is built on loyalty, not blood. If you see betrayal, stand up and fight. You're stronger than you think. Now, let's talk more about my feelings. That night at the restaurant, sitting alone, I thought, why am I here? Years of sacrifice for what? I remember calling you and saying, "My friend, I don't know what to do." You said, "Investigate." And you were right. In my searches, I learned more. Richard had gambling debts, and Sophia wanted to sell the house. One time I heard them say, "Elena is getting old. She won't notice." I planned for weeks. I hired a private investigator to take photos. It cost a lot, but I said, it's worth it. At the birthday party, when the slides played, Sophia cried, "Dad, help." Richard said, "It's all over." But I said, "It's over for you, not me." After the divorce, I traveled to Italy, my dream place. There I met women who said, "We've been through it too." One said, "Betrayal is a wound that heals." I came back and opened my cafe. Now we have sessions, stories of strong women. My book sales are good. Broken family, strong spirit. Sophia is trying to rebuild her life now, but it's hard. Richard is alone. I'm happy. My grandkids call sometimes. My friend, this story shows betrayal comes from the closest people, but power is in us. If you have something similar, tell me. Lots of love, Eve. To make this story fuller, let's dive deeper into the backstory. Before I met Richard, I was a young woman working as a teacher in a small town. Life was simple, but I always dreamed of a big family. When Richard came along, he swept me off my feet with his charm and promises of stability. "Elena, with you, I can build a real home," he said during our first date. I believed him. Sophia was introduced later, and she was wary at first. "Who are you?" she asked bluntly when we met. I smiled and said, "I'm Elena, and I hope we can be friends." It took time, but I thought we bonded over late-night talks about her dreams. She wanted to be a dancer, so I enrolled her in classes, even though it meant cutting back on my own expenses. "Thanks, Elena," she said once, hugging me. That memory haunted me later. As the years went by, there were signs I ignored. Richard would come home late, saying, "Work meeting." Sophia would visit more often when I was out. "Just catching up with Dad," she'd say. I trusted them. But trust is fragile, isn't it? One day, about a year before the dinner incident, I found a receipt for a hotel room in Richard's pocket. He laughed it off. Business trip, honey. I let it go, but doubt planted its seed. Expanding on the investigation phase, I didn't just stop at letters and emails. I started following them discreetly. One evening, I saw them at a cafe, holding hands. My heart pounded as I hid behind a newspaper. We need to be careful, Richard whispered. Sophia replied, she's clueless. That fueled my anger. I confided in my best friend, you, over coffee. What if it's true? I asked. You said, get proof, then act. So I did. I installed a tracking app on Richard's phone. Don't judge me. Desperation calls for it. The locations confirmed meetings at motels and parks. Let's talk about the emotional toll. Nights were sleepless. I'd stare at the ceiling, replaying memories. How could they? I'd whisper. Flashbacks to family holidays. Christmas, where I cooked for hours, only for Sophia to complain, this turkey is dry. Richard would defend her. She's just picky. Now I saw it as favoritism. I started journaling my thoughts, writing pages about betrayal. Family isn't blood, it's choice, I wrote one night. To build up to the confrontation, I rehearsed in front of the mirror. This is what you've done, I'd say, holding up imaginary evidence. The lawyer was a godsend. Elena, you're entitled. Savings, $200,000. Half was mine. Fight for it, she encouraged. The birthday party scene deserves more detail. I decorated the house with balloons and streamers, pretending everything was normal. Guests arrived. Sophia with Mark and the kids, Richard's brother, a few friends. Dinner was lasagna, Richard's favorite. As we ate, small talk flowed. How's work, Mark? I asked. He said, busy, but good. Sophia chimed in, yeah, unlike some people who just stay home. I bit my tongue. After plates were cleared, I announced the surprise. The projector hummed to life. First slide, a loving email from Richard to Sophia. Gasps. Second, a photo of them kissing. Chaos. Richard stood up. Turn it off. Sophia sobbed. How could you spy on us? I replied, how could you betray me? Mark was furious. Sophia, is this true? She nodded, and he stormed out with the kids. Post-confrontation, the house was a war zone. Richard packed a bag. You'll regret this. I said, no, you will. Sophia called the next day. Please don't tell anyone. Too late. The lawyer had copies. The divorce hearing was intense. The judge frowned at the evidence. This is appalling. Richard's lawyer tried to downplay. Emotional affair, not physical. But photos proved otherwise. I won big. Life after? Liberation. The cafe is called Elena's Haven. A cozy spot with bookshelves and comfy chairs. Regulars share stories. One woman left an abusive husband. Another rebuilt after infidelity. You're inspiring, they say. My new partner, Tom, is a widower. We met at a book club. Your strength draws me, he said on our first date. We travel now. Paris last month. Look at the Eiffel Tower, he said. I thought, this is real love. Reflecting on Sophia and Richard. I heard Sophia is in therapy, working a low-paying job. Richard lives in a small apartment, isolated. No satisfaction in their downfall. Just closure. The grandkids? I send gifts. Video call. Grandma Elena, we miss you, they say. One day, perhaps, reconciliation, but on my terms. My friend, This tale is longer than most, but life is complex. Betrayal hurts, but rising above, empowering. Add your chapter if you faced similar. Love always, Eve. Now, to expand this to approximately 7,000 words, I'll add more layers, detailed flashbacks, internal monologues, additional subplots, and extended dialogues. Let's continue. Flashback to my childhood. I grew up in a dysfunctional family. Dad left when I was 10. Mom worked 2 jobs. Elena, be strong, she'd say. That shaped me. I craved stability. Meeting Richard at a friend's party felt like fate. You're beautiful, he complimented. We dated 6 months before marriage. Sophia was at the wedding, sulking. I don't need a new mom, she muttered. I tried harder. Early marriage years. We bought a house in the suburbs. I decorated it with love. Blue curtains, family photos. Sophia's room was pink, her favorite. Do you like I asked. It's okay, she grumbled. Weekends were family time, picnics, movies. Once, Sophia fell ill. I nursed her. Thanks, she whispered. Bond forming? Apparently not. Subplot: Richard's work stress. He traveled often. Miss you. I'd text. Replies delayed. Now I know why. Sophia's college years. I helped with applications. You're smart. Go for it, I encouraged. She graduated, got a job in marketing. Proud of you, I said at her party. She hugged me. Rare. Mark entered the picture. Handsome, ambitious. Wedding was lavish. I helped plan. Beautiful ceremony, guests said. Grandkids came. Lily and Jack. Grandma Elena, they'd squeal. Babysitting joys, reading stories, baking cookies. You're the best, Lily said. Signs of trouble escalated. Family vacation to Florida. Sophia snapped at me over sunscreen. I can handle my kids, Richard sided with her. Back home, arguments. Why defend her? I'd ask. She's my daughter, he'd say. The hotel receipt incident. I confronted. Nothing, he lied. I dropped it, but suspicion grew. Therapy? I suggested couples counseling. We're fine, he refused. Investigation deepened. After finding letters, I dug into bank statements. Transfers to Sophia. $10,000 here, $5,000 there. Gifts, Richard claimed when asked. Lies. Private investigator report. Meetings twice weekly. Photos, kisses, embraces. Evidence gold, PI said. Emotional spiral. Depression hit. Weight loss. Anxiety. You okay? You asked over lunch. No, I confessed. Your advice. Document everything. Journal entries. Betrayed by those I loved most. Support group online. Stories similar. You're not alone, one woman messaged. Planning revenge? Not just divorce, but exposure. I copied everything to a drive. Told a trusted neighbor. Shocking, she said. Birthday party extended. Appetizers first. Cheese platter. Small talk. Weather. News. Then main course. Dessert wait. Surprise reveal. 20 slides. Each a nail in the coffin. Slide 5. Hotel bill. Explain that, I demanded. Richard stammered. Business. Slide 10. Text, love you more than her. Sophia. Fake. But metadata proved real. Aftermath chaos. Guests left awkwardly. Richard yelled, "You'll pay." I called police for escort. Next day, restraining order. Divorce proceedings, months long. Discovery phase, more dirt. Affair, since Sophia's 20s. Judge, disgusting. Settlement, $300,000 cash. House deed. Alimony, $2,000 per month. New life buildup. Sold house for profit. Bought condo. Cafe idea from passion for coffee. Business plan. Simple menu. Storytelling nights. Opening day. Crowded. Success. Tom attended. Date 1. Walk in park. Tell me your story, he said. I did. Tears flowing. Brave, he replied. Grandkid subplot. Custody battle. Mark 1 primary. Visits supervised. Why can't we see you more? Jack asked. Grown-up stuff, I said. Gifts. Toys. Books. Reflection on forgiveness. Do I hate them? No. Pity. Sophia emailed once. Sorry. I replied, heal yourself first. Extended lessons. Loyalty key. Boundaries essential. Self-love first. Women stand tall, I say in cafe sessions. More flashbacks. Honeymoon in Hawaii. Richard, forever. Irony. Sophia's Sweet 16. Party I threw. Gratitude then? Subplot friends. You my rock. Weekly calls. Proud, you say now. Cafe success. Expanded menu. Book deal. Memoir. Speaking gigs. Tom relationship. Slow build. Trips. Laughs. Marry me? Nady soon. Final thoughts. Life's twists teach. From pain, growth. Share your pain. Heal together.